Hey man, who?
Clowns early on were first used in religious ceremonies because it's very cathartic to laugh, and laughter brings people together. And so the clown would always come out before the ceremony began and get everybody laughing. And then when everybody went together, boom, then they would go through this religious ceremony together. They would go through this religious moment together. But who brought everyone together? Who was the first person there? The clown.
Clowning is the one circus art where you need an audience. You really need an audience because you need that laugh. Of course, any act needs an audience, but not quite in the same way that a clown does.
Now, what the lad didn't tell you was that clowning actually heavily precedes organized religion. So what actually happened was, I just had a hilarious voice crack. So the way that it went was, he's not wrong, absolutely true. It's like a gateway into looking another layer deeper as my dog clowns behind the camera, trying to jump on the log and keeps falling. So what happened was, basically, the shamans, the medicine men, the medicine women, right, the sacred clowns, they would open spiritual ceremonies doing something like you mentioned to make people laugh, right? A big reason why a lot of people start their videos over is they don't. That's part of the clowning, right? It's designed to be a jar, to shake things up, right? It's the reason for the inclusion of Jar Jar Binks in Star Wars Episode 1, but the character was written by people that are not clowns, nor medicine men or women, so they're trying to play with the elements that they had not earned, and they botched it, they blew it up. They would open the ceremony, making people laugh because it brought them together. It makes one open and pliable to an experience, right? It starts you on a good note. This is the same reason why a lot of comedy movies modernly, you'll see that they start like really funny and full of jokes for the first 30 or 40 minutes, and then they try to get serious and give you like a serious arc. But they made you pliable and more open to it by having the humor, to where if they just came straight up and said this is a drama movie, a lot of people would be like, not interested. But if there's some funny stuff, then yeah, I'm interested. Because why? Well, so many people take everything so damn serious that they need to laugh more. And they know it, so then they seek these things. The way that the circus actually originated was that in order to spread the message, the clown, the shaman, medicine man, medicine woman, etc., they would be advocating for their services within the community, and they would do so by telling story in theater. So they would do their like silly moves, but then they would also show high skill, and they would tell a story. This is the same way that movies are used now. Some things you can't really talk to people about, but then if you show them with art and theater, all of a sudden you have an ability to start a conversation. Or you could show them things that like you've been trying to convey, but they haven't been paying attention. So then now when you put it in theater, all of a sudden it lands different, right? This is the essence of theater and circus, and it came from conveying a message that was multi-layered, that is difficult to get across in regular conversation. So a lot of times these teachers would work with acrobats and other people to tell the story. So they would start the story, then they would appear periodically as like comedic relief throughout, because the nature of the story that was being told was very deep and can be heavy. And it was them trying to find solutions for their community. So then they would have like a weekly theater, sort of like a weekly dance around the fire. Well, it evolved. And basically what happened was there would be different people in different parts of the world. So modernly you'll see it in like southern United States with the marching band and like the master of ceremonies. And what do? They do funny moves, but they also show high skill, right? They dance funny, they move funny. This is them like taking a nod to their own clowns, right? The African clowns. So in the Africas, you can see that there's people that go on stilts, and then there's people that do acrobatics. In Mongolia, there's people that would climb tall ladders that was supposed to like symbolize life and the spirit rising. So they have the yurt, and then there would be a very tall ladder that would take pretty decent skill to climb up because it was freestanding, and then they would climb up this ladder, right? Others would tightrope walk and basically show their skill and their mastery of a certain paradigm to then open the door to try and teach someone something. So basically for kids and whatever else, right, you see the flips and the tricks and all that stuff, and it's like, oh, that's cool. How did you do this? And then they talk about the deeper layers in nature of the fabric of the skills that they use to share their message. Now, the Europeans, when they went around and traveled, they saw these different things in these different places, walking on the stilts and climbing up the ladders and doing balancing acts and acrobatics and flips and tricks and things of this nature. And then they decided to compile it, and then this became the nature of the circus. And then the clowns would come in just like they do in like movies, like a comedy relief, because the story is heavy. C-3PO and R2-D2 are good examples of this for Star Wars, right? They're a very watered down version of something that George Lucas was inspired from watching movies by Akira Kurosawa. And there's these two guys, I forget the name of the film right now, but there's two of them, and basically there's a major samurai war going on, and there's these two goofy characters that get wrapped up in all these different adventures associated with the war, but the whole time they're just trying to make a living and find some gold and treasure to go back. So like they just, all this funny hijinks and stuff happens to them. Well, this is the inspiration behind C-3PO and R2-D2, right? It's still honored in film to this day. It's just like there's less oomph. So then I went to the Kuza show by Cirque du Soleil, and it was nice to see like a pretty modern, authentic capturing of the nature and essence of the clown. But the clown, the head clown, was also the king. Very important there. There's a lot of stuff that goes on in stories that slip by people, but the artists and the writers, they know what story they're trying to tell. And basically they dangle stuff in front of people to see who can grasp it. But at the very least, people leave entertained from the glitz and the glam and the flips and the tricks and in the movies, the explosions and the special effects. But all of that stuff first started with original theater that came from shamans, sacred clowns, medicine men, medicine women, finding a way to share a message artistically with people, because Artland's different, that you couldn't convey with words in the same way. It's art. It's moving art. And the clowns directed this thing because they understood the full nature of the story, because they experience, they feel emotion more. They feel feeling more. They experience life more than most people, which makes them more sensitive. Which is why a lot of times they went into healing roles, because they could feel things more than other people. Where it made it difficult for them, because when things hurt, it hurt worse. When things were good, it felt way better. But when it was bad, it felt way, you know? But that's why they had the emotional range and the full spectrum to be able to outline a story using the other people, right? The other acrobats, the other artists, to show something that they couldn't do, because the nature of their pain, their wound, whatever they experienced, they would have their skills.
There are 120 roles within Cirque for actors and clowns, but this is a very different type of stage performance for an actor. There's no Shakespearean monologue. In fact, there are rarely any words. So performers have to be able to express themselves using only their body.
A high-level physical actor is someone that can touch an audience just by a movement.
But they would have their skill. Whoa! And it would be high skill, no doubt.
Hey, man, who's that cat coming down the street?
I don't know, but it sounds to me like that lizard man with the bone.
Sure having himself a ball.